Hey people, I got y'all some top secret information. But I had a birthday yesterday, so I thought I'd turn on the news this morning and see what went down in history to help me remember that day. And it was a great historic day. The governor of Mississippi declared a water emergency for Jackson. You're either going to be underwater or you're going to be drinking what's from the river. Then they played a 911 call from the latest shooting. And so he calls 911 and says, I have an active shooter with a military-style rifle and multiple victims down. Well, if I call 911, I'm going to say, hey, there's a motherfucker out here shooting people up, you know. So anytime you hear that 911 call, question that. I'm not going to look into it because YouTube hates it when I do. What I am going to look into is this word Heimlich and why they come up with the Heimlich maneuver just to cover up this information. But it's a German Jewish nickname for a secretive person from the middle of the High German Heimlich, any confidential or secret. And so that's the story of Solomon's princes. That's how it starts out. Why Heimlich? You know, why? Who? Secret. And you see this Heimlich has an I dot underneath here. These two dots represent the I. And that goes with this S over here. And the dot above the S says to pick up the I. I-S-I-L. The asilo. The little dot after the L says add a O. The asilo. And then the M. And the dots above the M say I-O. And so it's Husilo mio, O solo mio, and then the H, M, the hemlock, and then you see the I dots again, y'all, Y-O-L, and the hemlock, y'all, and then backwards and forwards after this tack, y'all of call, and Lars's roll. You know, you see Israel backwards. You see where the word larceny comes from, to steal. You know, Lars means to win the crown. And arson, you know. It's all about the thieves' roll. The Larcy's roll. You can see when they try to force this word on in Israel that they always ignore this vowel underneath, which they say is an E, and I say it's an I, but they don't put either one, they just ignore it, is roll. So it looks like it's saying, you know, y'all, Y-O-L, and then backwards L, and then K-A-L, and L, y'all call R, and Cicero, like a Tootsie Roll, you know, it's a S-I-S, and then the dot up top says pick up the I, S-I-S-I, the Cicero. You know, Cicero, the Roman statesman, the Cicero. And it's sure the same place where the word Caesar, which is the name for a ruler, a Kaiser. And it's also, you know, where the Star of Israel comes from. And it's, you know, in all colors, you know, all colors is roll. You know, he's flying all colors. And that star on that flag represents the asshole. The cat's ass. You know, the all color sissy roll. So this is all mixed up in one word, you know. And who Heimlich asile, you know, asile of the Basilius is the kingdom, you know. And who Heimlich asile. And then asilo is that, you know, that it's asile by himself. You know, O solo mio of the son of mine, my sunshine, O son of mine. You know, asilo mio, who Heimlich asilo mio, whose secret asile that I keep. Why Heimlich asilo mio? Whose secret that I keep, hemlock, y'all call, our sissy roll. And so I talked about the hemlock before, and it's what the witches used to take their broom flight. And then the rest of this explains what the word officials means, and what the word priest means and what the word officers means. And you can see where they're getting this word king out of here. Is Y, is who high, and then the dot says HLHK or ELEK, elek, who elek. But what it has to do with is the officials down here. And this word, coming from the same place, this word, the officialities, it's official, the officials. And it's a epithet, it's just an addition to a name, denoting an organism, mainly plants with use in medicine, herbalism, cookery. You can shoot down here and see a bunch of the scientific names. These are ancient medicines was given these names. They were already official, it was already proven. And so, that's reading, WY is who, and then HIEM, and then HLK, who Heimlich. And thus the Heimlich maneuver. Hey buddy, don't tell nobody, this is top secret. The Heimlich. And don't tell nobody, I'm going to show you the Heimlich. But this was the Heimlich Asylumio. Hemlock y'all call our sissy roll. Not a tootsie roll, a sissy roll. And this is the word I was looking at when I run into this. And these were the officials, is, and all of these assure 'em. You see the dot in the L says add the H. So this is and all and this is the E is the, and then an ES, and all of these. And the dot says come back and read this again. So underneath says A. Dot up top says pick up the A. Assurum. And then as the hero, underneath the HR, and it says backwards OW, the hero of loser, the loser you. And so it's the LOU, OZR, the loser you. Been food inside of Fico in. Been food, FOUD, been food, and then TS, been food it side, and then OV of, and FECO, FEKO, the FECO in of the shit in. And a lot of people knew that shit was there, so they was reading this as the Dookie, the Duke. But it's been FOW, the been the enemy, and the DXD is the decide, and then the OV decide of, and FECO, coming from the Latin for fecal, the shit. The FECO in. But this word for the priest, they're getting this from the Cohen, and that means the brave, the capable, to brave the shit. And so the XD is always having to do with the judge, to decide, and also Jupiter. That's the side of the XDQ. But what's going on here is, these are all officials, and all of these is assurum. I can assure you, the official, and all of these assurum, as here of Loazer you. Loazer, been food its side of FECO in, been putting food in the side that shit comes out. And so now you can see where this secret information come from, and who EYE, who I am is from, to I from leech, a private eye, the eye from leech. You see here this, the Hammer leech. And this information come from, to all of these assure 'em as the rule, ROUL, the rule, and then OV, the rule of Azar you. And I promised them all the rule of Azar. But what it actually says is of the the bathroom, and the Ozer, to hear in, the O's are to hear you. In the bathroom heard you. You know, the Hebrew word for the ear is the ozen, and what goes in the ear is the ozer, what you hear. And all of these assure 'em as ear of Lu, you know, as HR, as ear in OV, as ear of Lu, as ear of Lu ozer, as heard at the Lu, at the bathroom, you, ben folded side of Fico in. And so when I read this, I knew it was fixing to give me a rhyme off the bathroom wall. And you see they had to force some meaning on it. This of, you know, will usually be an L here. A L or a M they'll say is of. And a different word for scribes. It's only used 3 times. And you see they had to give the of again because it just wasn't there. And so the of is here, but it's because this reads backwards after this tack. And you're reading this O, which can be read as a of. And they had to force this E over. It wasn't here. And so that's the first clue that they mistranslated all this. And it starts with the holy herf. You know, the holy herf. And herf or herping, that's what you do when you're looking for snakes or lizards or frogs. You turn up stones as herping. And so it lets me think this first one they're talking about is a toad, the holy herp. And what they're cooking out of here is a liquor, triple X, a liquor of few keys. And you can't see the keys here, but you can see the liquor of here. The liquor, and then the P reads with this U over here. PU is few, means 3. The liquor of 3 keys. And you can see the key here, but the A is the mark down here, and the E becomes the ES. And it's the keys and the triple X. A liquor few keys. Venus issues of Venus, VINIS. The Venus and then IS. The A underneath, reading with this A over here, AAOO, issues, and then the dot says OF of. The issues of Remy, of branches, who, of branches, house, HOWS, house septed. House sept is when you're being judged, you know, you're going to accept the judgment. It's usually where you find that word. And Venus issues of Remy house sepet, having do lick a child would, having do lick a child would, toad. M is where, them is where. This key KA and the I becomes the key WR. It means where. Them is where is, he recorded them is where lick a child. So they figured out that you don't just lick the herper, but you can also cook up an elixir of triple X anal jelly out of it. The Venus issue. So Venus issue, Venus is the eye of Isis, is the vagina of Venus, and the Venus issues of Remy, of RIMI, of Remy how, of remedy, of a remedy to sepit, having do a lick a child, hoodum is where. So this so was King Solomon, you know, is that who was hidden off in his bat cave, you know, who's secretive asile Neo, the self asile. And all of his officials, you know, that was all of these Ashurim. And the son of priest Zadok, that was been foods inside of what Fico in. He been putting food up his ass. And this son of Ahui Lu, the recorder, He's been do lick a child who'd is where. Been do lick a child would is where. So back in the day, your kings was the Heimliches, and they was keeping it in the closet, the Heimliches Asylumio in the closet. And all these officials that were his, that was all of these Ashurim as a rule. Without his officials, he's got no rule. And, the priest, the base word is the echo in, and it means over and over again, the echo in. And so it's not a one-time thing, but he's been foods, it's the side of fico in. All the priests were gay. And the scribes, well, they were writing it, so, they're going to be supreme. And it looked like they had their biggest riles with the recorders, because they done been do lick a child hood'em is where. And this was just, a venue of Ben Had You I. A venue of Ben Had You I. Something to look at. The EY, and then the other way, the E, the I, and of I do. And all of its sex, all AV of TS, of it, and SE, back the other way, the X, and then two of them, and of its sex, and then TSV, it sieve, and all of its sex sieve. What's due of few avatar? What's due of few, of three avatar? Your avatar, your representation up here, your avatar. Coin them, KOCOENIM. Your avatar, coin them. Your little seal that you post. So when you come back and read this, reading the lower set of markings, the other reading directions, it adds a little more to it and gives you a little better idea of what you're looking for. And this is what I was reading before that sent me there. And it gives you a lot better idea of that word, the Jokum and the Jozadak and the issue. And so this looks like, all obey me, you if in. I'll obey me, you if been. But it's got some markings above this A here. And you read these two dots as a J, I, and the line you read as a Vav or a U. And so it's AJULH. And then an EVAYMY. And it's a jewel evame. And this is a African word that means I don't care. And I think it's something that evolved in that after somebody kept telling them something they didn't want to hear. But these lived in the days, means, well, back in the day, this is the way we did it. Well, I jewel by me, I don't care, But this back in the day is I jewel, I jew so long, farewell. And so, it's so long, and then EV have a, EVA. And so long have Jimmy, so long have days. You if been, whose issue of, OUS, whose, and then ISU, issue. And then the O is reading with the V of in, whose issue of in. And I don't care you if been, whose issue of in. I don't care whose issue you are. Your father, is your issue, your last name. But your issue is also, what you have received. Your issue, what you received from birth. Everything that they gave you went to boot camp. Your clothes and your toothbrush. Whose issue, Vin. And this is also where your word Jesus come from. One of the words of Jesus. And you see it in the meanings they give this word. He is saved. Successor to Moses. Leader of the children of Israel. whose issue of Fedit? Ben Fedits, and then of OV, and then YOU, and Fedu Zadik, and Fedu Jupiter. Jupiter is Zadik, XDQ. I don't care you if Ben, as whose issue of Fedits of you Jupiter, and Jupiter fed you, and by minimum ye effect. By the minimum effect is the governor, and by MINHM, minimum. By minimum ye EFHCH, effect ye. By minimum effect ye was risking, was RAE is RES, was risco, was risque, was the risk in his super is great, is the super is a great risk in. And you see the co in there, the brave, and who has risk and has risco in the super, who has a great risk, the braves. And so the sons of Levi, the heads, that was Avenilou Rose. Avenilou Rose, that's just half red. Those are half bloods. And we're written in the book. That's the sight to by whom all rips. The sight to by whom all rips. People are aggravated trying to cipher this book. The cipher of the book, and they rip it all up. Are written in the book. The sight to whom all rips. And the book of Chronicles of Days, the time of days, is the spread every hemi from, to spread every hemisphere, spread every hemi. So I don't know how I got here. I'm going to backtrack and see what led me on this trail. I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.